Have you ever wondered what it really takes to live a happy life? Don't worry, you're not alone. In a world obsessed with chasing goals, material things, and people, it's easy to forget the basics. Everyone talks about happiness, but who actually tells you how to get there without selling some false dream? Relax, because today we're going to cut through the noise and share what psychology and Stoic philosophy can teach us about happiness. Spoiler alert, it's in the little things we ignore every day. Laugh more, get outside, wake up early, and please turn off your phone once in a while. Stick with us to discover why science and ancient wisdom are still teaching us valuable lessons in the 21st century. But first, let me tell you a story to help frame the wisdom in today's content. There was once a young man named Mark who lived in a quiet valley. Even though he had plenty of material possessions and his life seemed perfect from the outside, he always felt like something was missing. One day, Mark decided to embark on a journey to discover the true secret to happiness. Along his journey, he met a wise old man who lived in a small cabin on a hill. After talking for hours, the old man shared 3 essential pieces of advice for living a happy life. He said, to be happy, you don't need more stuff or power. There are 3 simple things you need to practice: gratitude, acceptance, and love. Mark was puzzled but listened carefully. The old man continued, gratitude is the first. If you don't appreciate what you already have, you'll never have enough. Be thankful for every little moment, every breath. Second is acceptance. Life will always have ups and downs. If you learn to accept things as they are without trying to control everything, you'll find peace in the chaos. And third is love. Love what you do. Love the people around you. And most importantly, love yourself. Only when your heart is full of love can you truly radiate happiness to others and receive it back. As Mark began practicing gratitude, accepting life's changes, and loving more deeply, he realized that his search for happiness was over. It wasn't something he had to find outside, but something to cultivate from within. His friends in the valley noticed the change in him, and when they asked him the secret to his transformation, Mark simply replied, happiness isn't a destination, it's the journey. If you live with gratitude, acceptance, and love, you'll discover that happiness has been within you all along. Now, before we dive into the first lesson, if you find these videos helpful, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Ready to change your life? Let's get started. 1. Laugh more. Have you ever noticed how we often make life much more complicated than it needs to be? We treat almost everything with extreme seriousness, as if there's a global competition for who can frown the hardest. We get so caught up in our daily responsibilities, stresses, and struggles that we forget to let go, relax, and laugh. But here is the thing: science and ancient wisdom both agree that laughter isn't just a feel-good action. It's actually an essential tool for maintaining your well-being, both mentally and physically. Let's rewind a bit to the Stoics, the original masters of staying calm under pressure. At first glance, they might not seem like the kind of people who would embrace laughter. After all, their philosophy focuses on discipline, self-control, and maintaining your composure no matter what life throws your way. But even the Stoics knew the importance of keeping a light heart in the face of adversity. Epictetus, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, famously said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." While this quote may seem like a serious piece of advice about controlling your emotions, it also opens the door to something else. How you choose to react to life's challenges can either weigh you down or set you free. And laughter is one of the best ways to free yourself from the heaviness of stress. Laughter might seem like a small, insignificant act, but it's incredibly powerful. When we laugh, our brains release a cocktail of feel-good chemicals like endorphins and serotonin, which help us cope with pain and elevate our mood. On top of that, laughter actually reduces the amount of cortisol and adrenaline in our system. These two hormones are the ones that surge when we're stressed, putting us in a state of fight or flight. By laughing, we lower their levels, which in turn reduces the physical effects of stress on our bodies. Essentially, laughter is like hitting the reset button on our nervous system. It calms us down, makes us feel more in control, and even helps us sleep better. Imagine life as a roller coaster, full of unexpected twists, sudden drops, and the occasional heart-pounding moment that makes you question everything. When you laugh, it's like fastening the safety harness on that roller coaster ride. It doesn't make the ups and downs disappear, but it helps you feel secure and able to handle whatever comes next. This is exactly what laughter does for our emotions. It acts as a buffer, helping us bounce back from stressful situations with a sense of resilience. Dr. Lee Berk from Loma Linda University conducted extensive research on the effects of laughter on the human body. What he found was pretty amazing. Laughter works like a natural stress reliever. His studies showed that even a few moments of genuine laughter could lower blood pressure, boost the immune system, and reduce the production of stress hormones. In other words, laughter isn't just a quick fix for a bad mood. It's a long-term strategy for protecting your health. But what if you don't feel like laughing? What if the pressures of daily life make it hard to find joy or humor in anything? Here is where the Stoic mindset comes in again. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control the external events in our lives, we can control how we respond to them. Choosing to laugh, even in tough situations, is a form of control. It's a conscious decision to look for the lighter side of life, to not let hardships drag us down completely. And don't worry, laughter isn't just for those who have a naturally great sense of humor. Anyone can benefit from it. In fact, research has shown that even forced laughter, like in laughter yoga or therapy, can have the same positive effects on the brain and body as spontaneous laughter. In a study published by the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, cancer patients who participated in laughter therapy reported feeling less depressed, more hopeful, and better equipped to face their challenges. Think about that for a second. People going through one of the toughest battles of their lives found relief and strength in laughter. If they can, so can you. So how can you incorporate more laughter into your daily life? Start small. Don't wait for the perfect joke or a hilarious movie. Instead, find humor in the little things. Laugh at your own mistakes. Laugh at the absurdity of certain situations. Laugh at the memes your friends send you, even if they're not that funny. The key is to let yourself experience joy and amusement as often as possible. Every time you laugh, you're training your brain to focus on the positive and let go of the negative, even if just for a moment. Let's put it into perspective. Say you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. You can either sit there fuming at the cars in front of you, or you can laugh at the ridiculousness of the situation. Maybe turn on a funny podcast or think about something that made you smile earlier in the day. By choosing laughter, you take control of the situation. Sure, it won't get you to your meeting any faster, but it will reduce the stress and frustration that come with feeling helpless. Laughter isn't just a way to pass the time or fill awkward silences. It's a tool, a skill you can develop over time to help you navigate life's inevitable ups and downs. And it doesn't take much. Even just a few minutes, a day of genuine laughter can do wonders for your mental and physical health. So the next time life feels a little too heavy, remember that laughter is a choice. It's a tool that's always within your reach, ready to help you lighten your load. And as the ancient saying goes, laughter is the best medicine. Even when it feels like the world is giving you nothing to smile about, don't underestimate the power of a good laugh. It might just be the key to living a happier, healthier, and more balanced life. 2. Get outside and connect with nature. Think about your typical day for a second. How much of it do you spend indoors, surrounded by screens, artificial lighting, and recycled air? Modern life has this weird way of keeping us trapped inside. We're glued to our phones, locked into our desks, and by the time the day ends, it can feel like we haven't experienced the world at all. But here's the thing, humans weren't designed to live this way. For centuries we thrived by being outdoors, connected with nature, and living in sync with the natural rhythms of the earth. So why have we moved so far away from that? The Stoics believed in aligning ourselves with nature. In fact, one of the core principles of Stoicism is living in harmony with the natural world. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." This means that nature has its own pace, its own way of functioning, and when we align ourselves with it, life becomes more peaceful and balanced. But how do we reconnect with nature when our modern lives seem designed to keep us away from it? Let's start with the simple act of going outside. It might sound trivial, but spending time in nature, whether that's a park, a beach, or even your own backyard, has profound effects on your mental and physical health. Numerous studies have shown that being outdoors can lower stress levels, improve mood, and even boost creativity. According to a study published in Environmental Health Perspectives, spending just 20 minutes in a natural setting can significantly reduce cortisol levels, the hormone that's responsible for stress. Think about that, 20 minutes of fresh air. Sunlight and greenery can have more impact on your stress than most relaxation techniques. It's no wonder that people who live near parks or forests tend to be healthier and report higher levels of happiness than those who live in more urban environments. Now, you might be thinking, "I'm too busy to go outside every day," or "I live in the city. Where can I even find nature?" But reconnecting with nature doesn't have to mean going on a week-long camping trip or hiking through a forest, though if you can do that, even better. It can be as simple as taking a walk around your neighborhood, finding a park bench to sit on for a few minutes, or even just opening your windows to let in fresh air and natural light. The goal is to break the monotony of indoor life and give your mind and body a chance to reset. There's a term for this, forest bathing, originating in Japan. It's the practice of spending time in the forest to improve health and well-being. Studies have shown that forest bathing can lower blood pressure, improve immune function, and increase energy levels. And here's the best part. You don't need an actual forest to benefit from it. The same principles apply when you're simply surrounded by trees, plants, or even just natural elements like water or wind. When was the last time you felt a real connection to the earth? When did you last feel the breeze on your face, hear the rustling of leaves, or smell freshly cut grass? These might sound like small, insignificant things, but they can have a huge impact on your mood and overall well-being. Nature has a way of grounding us, reminding us of the bigger picture. It helps put our worries and stresses into perspective. After all, how big can your problems seem when you're standing next to a towering tree that's been alive for hundreds of years? And let's not forget about the physical benefits of being outside. The simple act of walking outdoors, especially in green spaces, actually has been linked to lower levels of depression, anxiety, and even chronic pain. According to research from Stanford University, walking in nature reduces rumination, the negative repetitive thoughts that often contribute to mental health issues like depression. By getting outside, you're not just exercising your body, you're also giving your mind a much-needed break from the pressures of everyday life. The Stoics understood that spending time in nature was essential to maintaining balance. They believed that nature was the ultimate teacher, showing us how to live with patience, resilience, and acceptance. When you're outside, you see life happening in real time. The changing seasons, the growth of plants, the flow of rivers. It's all a reminder that everything in life has a natural rhythm. And when we tap into that rhythm, we find peace. So, how can you start connecting with nature today? It doesn't have to be complicated. Start small, set aside a few minutes each day to step outside, breathe in fresh air, and observe the world around you. If you have a park nearby, make it a point to walk through it regularly. If you live in the city, find a rooftop or a garden where you can escape the hustle and bustle, even if just for a few moments. The key is to make this a habit, something you look forward to every day. And here's the best part: the more time you spend in nature, the more you'll crave it. You'll start noticing things you've never paid attention to before. The way the sunlight filters through the leaves, the sound of birds in the morning, the feeling of grass under your feet. These small moments can bring a sense of calm and joy that's hard to find anywhere else. In conclusion, nature is not just a backdrop to our busy lives. It's a crucial part of our well-being. The Stoics knew this, and modern science confirms it. By reconnecting with the natural world, we can reduce stress, improve our mood, and find balance in an increasingly chaotic world. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember the solution might be as simple as stepping outside and letting nature do its thing. Morning person. Let's be honest, mornings don't have the best reputation. For many people, waking up early feels like a form of punishment. The alarm blares, pulling you out of the warmth of your bed, and all you can think about is how much you'd rather hit snooze and sleep in. And who can blame you? Modern life has conditioned us to stay up late, binge-watch shows, and squeeze every last bit of relaxation out of the night. But what if I told you that becoming a morning person could be one of the best decisions you make for your happiness, health, and overall sense of well-being? Now I know what you're thinking. I'm just not a morning person. That's a common belief. But here's the good news. Waking up early is more of a habit than a genetic trait. And once you make the shift, the benefits are undeniable. The Stoics, who placed great emphasis on discipline and self-control, understood the value of starting the day early. Marcus Aurelius himself said, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of? If I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do, this Stoic mindset highlights the idea that mornings are not just about waking up to face another day of obligations. They're an opportunity to embrace your purpose. By waking up early, you set the tone for the rest of your day. You take control rather than letting the day control you. Science backs this up. Studies have shown that early risers tend to be more optimistic, more proactive, and less likely to experience stress. A study conducted by researchers at the University of Toronto found that people who wake up earlier report higher levels of positive emotions and overall life satisfaction. They also tend to be healthier, with lower risks of conditions like obesity and depression. In other words, waking up early isn't just a nice idea, it's a proven way to boost your mental and physical health. One of the key reasons why waking up early is so beneficial is that it gives you time. Think about it. When you wake up before the world does, you have those precious quiet moments to yourself. No emails, no phone calls, no rush, just you and your thoughts. It's the perfect time for reflection, planning, or even just enjoying a cup of coffee while the world outside is still asleep. This quiet time allows you to set your intentions for the day, making you more focused and productive when things get busy later on. Another benefit of waking up early is that it aligns you with your body's natural rhythm. Our bodies are wired to follow a circadian rhythm, which is essentially an internal clock that regulates when we feel awake and when we feel sleepy. By going to bed earlier and waking up with the sun, you're working in harmony with this natural rhythm. This not only makes you feel more energized, but also improves the quality of your sleep. It's important to note that becoming a morning person doesn't mean you have to suddenly start waking up at 5:00 a.m. every day. The key is to gradually adjust your schedule in a way that feels natural to you. Start by going to bed 15 minutes earlier than usual and waking up 15 minutes earlier in the morning. Over time, you'll find that waking up early becomes a habit, one that you actually look forward to. But what do you do with all that extra time in the morning? This is where you can really start to see the benefits of being an early riser. You use those quiet hours to do things that are important to you, but often get pushed aside during the busy day. Maybe it's working out, meditating, journaling, or even just sitting in silence to gather your thoughts. The Stoics believed in the power of reflection, and the early morning is the perfect time for it. As Seneca said, the mind must be given relaxation. It will rise improved and sharper after a good break. One thing that can help you get out of bed in the morning is having something to look forward to. This doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe it's the simple pleasure of enjoying a peaceful breakfast, going for a walk, or starting the day with a good book. Having a positive reason to get up can make those early hours feel like a reward rather than a chore. Now, I know mornings can be tough at first. You might feel groggy or sluggish as you adjust to your new schedule, but stick with it. Over time, your body will adapt, and you'll start to notice the benefits. You'll have more energy, feel more in control of your day, and experience less stress. And the best part, you'll have more time to do the things that matter to you without the constant rush of everyday life. Let's not forget the practical side of being a morning person either. When you wake up early, you're ahead of the game. You have time to get organized, tackle tasks, and even handle potential problems before they escalate. Instead of feeling like you're constantly playing catch-up, you'll find yourself in a proactive mindset, ready to take on the challenges of the day with confidence. In conclusion, becoming a morning person isn't about being perfect or following a strict schedule. It's about creating space in your day for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. By waking up early, you give yourself the gift of time to reflect, time to grow, and time to live with intention. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off, try resisting the urge to hit snooze. Instead, embrace the quiet, peaceful start to the day and watch how it transforms your life. Pack your days with plans. Have you ever noticed how some days seem to fly by while others drag on forever? It's a curious thing how time can feel so different depending on how we fill it. We've all experienced those lazy weekends where we had nothing planned, and by Sunday night, we're left wondering where the time went. On the flip side, days that are packed with activities and plans often feel more fulfilling, as if we've truly made the most of our time. But here's the key. It's not just about being busy for the sake of it. It's about filling your days with purposeful, meaningful plans that add value to your life. The Stoics had a lot to say about time. Seneca, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, famously warned about the dangers of wasting time. In his essay on the shortness of life, he wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The Stoics believed that time was one of our most valuable resources and that we should use it wisely, with intention and purpose. But how do we do that in today's fast-paced world, where it's so easy to get distracted or overwhelmed? Let's start by considering what it means to pack your day. We're not talking about filling every minute with mindless tasks or running yourself ragged with never-ending to-do lists. Instead, it's about being intentional with your time, planning activities that bring you joy, fulfillment, and growth. It's about creating a balance between productivity and spontaneity, making room for both structured plans and unexpected opportunities. Think of your time like a bank account. Every day you're given a limited amount of hours, and it's up to you how you spend them. Some people save their time by doing nothing, thinking they're preserving their energy or avoiding stress. But in reality, time that isn't spent with purpose is often time wasted. The Stoics would argue that we should be investing our time wisely, spending it on activities that nourish our minds, bodies, and relationships. Studies have shown that people who plan their days tend to feel more satisfied with how they spend their time. According to research published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, people who engage in goal setting and planning report higher levels of happiness and a greater sense of control over their lives. This is because having a plan gives us a sense of direction. When you know what you want to accomplish, it's easier to stay focused, motivated, and on track. But let's be clear, this isn't about turning your life into a rigid schedule. It's important to leave room for spontaneity and relaxation too. In fact, overscheduling yourself can lead to burnout, which is the opposite of what we're aiming for. The goal is to find a balance. By planning your day with intention, you give yourself the freedom to enjoy each moment rather than feeling like time is slipping away. So how can you start packing your days with purposeful plans? First, take a step back and think about what really matters to you. What are the activities that bring you joy? What are the things you've been meaning to do but keep putting off? Maybe it's spending time with family, working on a personal project, exercising, or learning something new. Whatever it is, make a commitment to prioritize these activities. Write them down schedule them into your day, and treat them with the Hey everyone, welcome back to Stoic Saga, where we explore the timeless wisdom of Stoicism to help you cultivate resilience, inner strength, and mental toughness. Today's episode dives deep into 10 painful but powerful lessons from Stoic philosophy that will teach you how to build and maintain mental toughness in the face of life's challenges. Life can throw a lot at us: setbacks, failure, and unexpected obstacles. But the Stoics believe that how we respond to these challenges is what truly defines us. In this episode, we'll explore 10 Stoic lessons that will help you not only endure adversity, but grow stronger because of it. From mastering your perspective to practicing detachment, each lesson is designed to give you practical tools to stay mentally strong, no matter what life throws your way. Before we begin, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who could use a little extra resilience today. Your support helps us continue sharing these valuable insights from Stoicism and personal growth. Let's get started with the first lesson: mastering your perspective. 1. Mastering your perspective. In the journey to maintain mental toughness, mastering your perspective is the first and perhaps most crucial step. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, emphasize the importance of controlling how we interpret and respond to external events. This mastery over one's perspective is not about denying reality, but about acknowledging that our perception of events is within our control, even when the events themselves are not. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This profound insight highlights that our emotional responses and mental resilience are not shaped by the events around us, but by how we choose to perceive and interpret those events. It's a shift in mindset from being reactive to becoming proactive in how we deal with life's challenges. At the heart of mastering your perspective is self-awareness. The first step is to recognize when negative or unproductive thought patterns are taking over. These patterns can often cloud judgment and intensify emotional reactions. For example, you may interpret a difficult situation at work as a failure or personal attack, when in reality, it is simply a learning opportunity. Self-awareness helps you catch these misinterpretations before they spiral out of control. Once you become aware of these negative thought loops, the next step is to reframe them. This practice is known as cognitive reframing, and it involves deliberately shifting your perspective to see the situation from a more balanced and rational viewpoint. For instance, instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this, I'll never succeed," reframe it to, "I didn't succeed this time, but I've learned valuable lessons that will help me improve." By reframing your thoughts, you train your mind to focus on growth and resilience rather than defeat. To solidify this shift in perspective, the practice of mindfulness becomes a powerful tool. Mindfulness allows you to observe your thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. It teaches you to be present, acknowledging your feelings without judgment. When you're mindful, you recognize that emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness are temporary, and you don't let them dictate your actions. This awareness creates mental space, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. A practical approach to mastering your perspective is to engage in daily mindfulness exercises. Set aside just a few minutes each day to sit quietly, focusing on your breath and observing any thoughts or emotions that arise. As you practice this regularly, you'll find that it becomes easier to notice when your mind is slipping into negative thought patterns and you'll develop the strength to shift your perspective towards something more constructive. Lastly, surrounding yourself with positive influences, whether it's supportive friends, mentors, or the wisdom of great thinkers, helps reinforce a constructive mindset. The people you surround yourself with can significantly shape your outlook. Seek out those who encourage growth and resilience, as their presence can serve as a constant reminder to maintain a balanced and empowering perspective. In summary, mastering your perspective is about taking control of your thoughts and interpretations of the world around you. Through self-awareness, cognitive reframing, mindfulness, and the support of positive influences, you can cultivate the resilience needed to face life's challenges with strength and clarity. As Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. 2. Accept what you cannot change. One of the most foundational lessons in Stoicism is the understanding that many things in life are beyond our control, and mental toughness comes from accepting this reality. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. Rather, it is about recognizing the limits of our influence and directing our energy toward what we can change: our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Epictetus, a central figure in Stoic philosophy, taught this essential principle. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. This statement is at the core of maintaining mental toughness. By accepting what you cannot change, you free yourself from the frustration, anxiety, and helplessness that often accompany uncontrollable situations. In our daily lives, we are frequently confronted with circumstances that are beyond our control, whether it's other people's actions, natural events, or the passage of time. These are often the sources of our greatest stress and emotional turbulence. Imagine being stuck in traffic. For example, you can't control the traffic, but you can control how you respond to it. Instead of becoming angry or frustrated, you can choose to use that time productively, perhaps by listening to an audiobook or practicing mindfulness. By shifting your focus from the things outside your control to the things within your control, you regain a sense of peace and power. The Stoics understood that accepting what you cannot change is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of wisdom and strength. Seneca wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the unwilling." This powerful quote reminds us that resisting reality only causes suffering, whereas accepting it allows us to flow with life rather than against it. When you accept that some things are simply beyond your influence, you can conserve your mental and emotional energy for what truly matters, improving yourself and taking purposeful action where you can make a difference. A practical approach to acceptance involves practicing radical acceptance, a concept often used in modern psychology. Radical acceptance means fully acknowledging the reality of a situation without judgment. Instead of wishing things were different or fighting against the truth, you accept it for what it is. For instance, if you experience a setback in your career, instead of ruminating on the unfairness of the situation or blaming yourself excessively, you can practice radical acceptance by acknowledging what has happened and then focusing on what you can do next. This practice reduces emotional resistance and helps you move forward with clarity and purpose. Another helpful practice in cultivating acceptance is to reflect on the transience of life. The Stoics frequently contemplated the impermanence of all things as a way to build resilience and diminish the fear of loss. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This perspective helps us realize that life is fleeting and many of the things we worry about are temporary. By accepting that change, loss and uncertainty are inevitable parts of life. We can let go of the need to control every outcome and instead focus on living fully in the present moment. An essential part of acceptance is also practicing self-compassion. When faced with difficult circumstances, it's easy to be hard on yourself for not being able to change the situation or for feeling frustrated by it. However, accepting what you cannot change also involves accepting your emotional responses to these situations. It's normal to feel disappointed, sad or frustrated when things don't go as planned, and recognizing and honoring those emotions is part of the process. Instead of berating yourself for not being perfect, offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend in a similar situation. To fully integrate this lesson into your life, start by identifying the areas where you often feel frustrated or helpless. Ask yourself, is this something within my control, or is it beyond my influence? If it's something you cannot change, practice letting go of the desire to control it and redirect your focus to what you can influence, whether it's your mindset, your actions, or your emotions. In conclusion, accepting what you cannot change is about embracing the reality of life's unpredictability and focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and responses. By practicing radical acceptance and reflecting on the impermanence of life, you cultivate mental toughness and free yourself from the stress of resisting reality. As the Stoics remind us, true strength comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling ourselves in the face of whatever life brings. 3. Embrace the now. One of the most powerful Stoic lessons for maintaining mental toughness is the ability to fully embrace the present moment. In a world that often pulls us toward worries about the future or regrets about the past, learning to stay grounded in the present is a cornerstone of emotional resilience. By focusing on the here and now, you harness your mental energy and clarity, freeing yourself from the unnecessary stress that arises when your mind wanders into territories you cannot control. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This simple yet profound advice captures the essence of mental toughness, recognizing that the present moment is all you truly have. By embracing the now, you stop allowing the past to haunt you or the future to paralyze you. Instead, you channel your focus into what is happening right now, which is the only time you can act, respond, or improve. Why is embracing the present so important for mental toughness? One of the main reasons is that anxiety and fear are almost always tied to concerns about the future. What might happen? What could go wrong? Or what outcomes you can't predict? Similarly, guilt, regret, and sadness are often linked to the past, dwelling on things that have already happened and cannot be changed. The Stoics taught that neither the past nor the future is within our control. The only thing we have power over is the present moment and how we choose to engage with it. When you embrace the present, you cultivate mindfulness, the ability to observe your thoughts and emotions as they arise without becoming overwhelmed by them. Mindfulness is key to mental toughness because it allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It gives you the space to pause, assess the situation, and choose the best course of action rather than being swept away by your immediate emotional reactions. Imagine you're facing a stressful situation. Perhaps you're dealing with a conflict at work or managing a heavy workload. Your first instinct might be to worry about how things will play out in the future or to regret decisions that led you to this point. But by embracing the now, you can shift your focus to what you can do right now to improve the situation. Maybe it's taking a deep breath to center yourself, reaching out to a colleague for help, or simply breaking the task down into smaller, manageable steps. The act of grounding yourself in the present moment helps you move forward with clarity and confidence. The Stoic practice of meditation on the present moment is another powerful way to embrace the now. This involves regularly reminding yourself that this moment is all that matters. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the fleeting nature of time, writing, "Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Don't fill your mind with all the bad things that might still happen. Stay focused on the present situation and ask yourself why it's so unbearable and can't be survived." This Stoic practice of simplifying your thoughts to focus only on the present helps reduce overwhelm and sharpens your ability to handle challenges as they arise. One of the benefits of embracing the present is that it fosters contentment and gratitude. When you're not constantly chasing future goals or lamenting past mistakes, you can appreciate what is in front of you. Practicing gratitude for the present moment, no matter how small the blessings, builds emotional resilience. The Stoics encouraged this practice because it helps shift your perspective from lack or loss to abundance. Even in difficult times, there is always something to be grateful for, whether it's the lessons you're learning, the support of loved ones, or simply the opportunity to grow stronger through adversity. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're going through a rough patch in your personal life. It's easy to get caught up in negative thoughts about what went wrong in the past, or fears about what the future holds. But by embracing the now, you bring your focus back to today. What can you do today to improve your well-being? It might be something small like taking a walk, practicing mindfulness, or reaching out to a friend. These actions rooted in the present not only improve your emotional state, but also help you regain a sense of control over your life. Another practice that helps you embrace the now is breathwork. Focusing on your breath is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to anchor yourself in the present moment. When you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or distracted, taking a few deep, mindful breaths brings your attention back to the here and now. It helps calm your nervous system and allows you to approach the situation with a clearer mind. The Stoics understood the power of the breath in controlling the mind and emotions, often using breathing exercises to remain calm and centered in the face of adversity. Embracing the present also involves letting go of the need for certainty about the future. The Stoics taught that life is unpredictable, and trying to control every outcome is a futile endeavor. Instead of fixating on what might happen, focus on what you can do now to influence the future in a positive way. By staying present and taking purposeful action in the moment, you set yourself up for success while remaining detached from the anxiety that often accompanies uncertainty. In conclusion, embracing the now is a powerful Stoic practice that cultivates mental toughness by grounding you in the present moment. By letting go of worries about the future and regrets about the past, you free yourself to fully engage with the opportunities and challenges in front of you. Through mindfulness, breathwork, and gratitude, you can build the resilience needed to navigate life's uncertainties with strength and clarity. As the Stoics remind us, the present is the only time we truly have, and it is here in the now where we find our greatest power. 4. Cultivate humility and empathy. Humility and empathy are two virtues that play a crucial role in maintaining mental toughness. While they may not seem like the most obvious traits for resilience, they provide the foundation for handling life's challenges with grace and wisdom. The Stoics understood that humility keeps us grounded, while empathy connects us to others, allowing us to navigate adversity with a balanced mind and a compassionate heart. Let's begin with humility. One of the greatest misconceptions about mental toughness is that it requires an unshakable sense of pride or self-reliance. In reality, humility is what allows us to maintain perspective and avoid the pitfalls of arrogance or overconfidence. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of remembering our place in the larger order of the universe. In his Meditations, he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This reflection reminds us that we are but a small part of something much greater, and that keeping a humble perspective allows us to see the bigger picture. Humility is essential for mental toughness because it encourages us to approach life with openness and a willingness to learn. When we're humble, we recognize that we don't have all the answers and that we will inevitably make mistakes. This openness allows us to adapt to new circumstances and learn from our failures without letting pride get in the way. It's this adaptability and willingness to grow that fosters resilience. Instead of being rigid and defensive, a humble mindset allows you to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, knowing that there is always room for improvement. In a practical sense, cultivating humility means acknowledging your limitations and asking for help when needed. Too often we equate toughness with handling everything on our own, but the Stoics remind us that true strength comes from recognizing when we need support. Asking for help, whether from a mentor, friend, or colleague, is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of wisdom. It shows that you are committed to learning and growing and that you value the input of others. Now, let's turn to empathy. While humility helps us remain grounded, empathy allows us to connect with others and build meaningful relationships. The Stoics believed in the importance of empathy as a means of understanding and relating to the human condition. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" This reflection encourages us to recognize that we are all flawed and that by practicing empathy, we can better navigate interpersonal challenges. Empathy is key to mental toughness because it allows us to approach difficult situations with compassion rather than anger or frustration. When faced with adversity, it's easy to become defensive or lash out at others, but empathy helps us see the situation from their perspective. This shift in perspective not only de-escalates conflict, but also strengthens our relationships, creating a support network that bolsters our resilience. A practical way to cultivate empathy is to actively listen during conversations, especially in moments of conflict or misunderstanding. Often when we are stressed or upset, we listen to respond rather than to understand. However, by making a conscious effort to truly hear the other person's point of view, we develop greater emotional awareness and insight into their experience. This practice not only improves communication, but also fosters a deeper sense of connection and trust, which is crucial for building mental toughness. Empathy also helps us develop patience. In the heat of challenging situations, whether at work or in personal relationships, it's easy to become impatient or frustrated, but empathy allows us to slow down and remember that everyone is going through their own struggles. By giving others the benefit of the doubt and showing compassion, we reduce our emotional volatility and approach problems with a calmer, more level-headed mindset. This patience is an essential part of maintaining mental toughness, as it prevents us from reacting impulsively and allows us to respond thoughtfully. In the broader context of life, empathy helps us navigate hardship by connecting us to the shared human experience. We all face difficulties, loss, and pain at different points in our lives. By recognizing this commonality, we build a sense of solidarity with others, which strengthens our resolve. The Stoics believe that we are all part of a greater whole, and this sense of unity helps us find meaning and purpose in the midst of suffering. Seneca wrote, "We are waves of the same sea, leaves of the same tree, flowers of the same garden." This perspective reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, and that by supporting one another, we can endure even the most challenging times. Finally, both humility and empathy teach us the importance of forgiveness, both toward ourselves and others. Mental toughness is not about holding on to grudges or being unforgiving. Rather, it's about letting go of resentment and moving forward with clarity and purpose. Humility reminds us that we too are imperfect and will make mistakes, while empathy helps us understand the reasons behind others' actions. Together, these virtues encourage forgiveness, which frees us from emotional burdens and helps us maintain peace of mind. In conclusion, cultivating humility and empathy is essential for maintaining mental toughness. Humility keeps us grounded, open to learning, and aware of our limitations, while empathy connects us to others and fosters compassion and patience. By practicing these virtues, we strengthen our emotional resilience and build the capacity to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. As the Stoics remind us, mental toughness is not about isolation or pride, but about recognizing our shared humanity and approaching life with humility and compassion. 5. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful practice that plays a central role in developing mental toughness. While it might seem counterintuitive to think of gratitude as a component of resilience, the Stoics believe that cultivating gratitude strengthens the mind by shifting focus from what is lacking to what is already present and valuable. By practicing gratitude, you build emotional resilience and foster a mindset that finds strength even in adversity. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us of the importance of gratitude in the face of challenges. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This reflection on gratitude is not about denying difficulties, but about acknowledging the good that exists in your life despite them. Practicing gratitude shifts your perspective, allowing you to recognize the positive aspects of your situation, no matter how small, which bolsters your mental toughness in the face of challenges. Gratitude plays a key role in mental reframing, a concept central to Stoicism. When you encounter difficulties, it's easy to focus on what's going wrong or what's missing. However, by practicing gratitude, you train your mind to focus on the blessings and opportunities within your reach. This shift in focus not only improves your mood, but also helps you approach problems with a clearer, more Imagine waking up one morning, looking into the mirror, and seeing a stranger staring back at you. Not someone frightening, but someone remarkable. Someone new, transformed, full of life, purpose, and possibility. Who would you become if you weren't tied to yesterday's identity, yesterday's doubts, or yesterday's fears? It's a simple yet profoundly challenging question. Most of us live our lives under the silent assumption that we are somehow fixed, bound by past choices and labels given by ourselves and others. But what if you could rewrite your story entirely? What if today, in this very moment, you could begin again, fresh, without hesitation, ready to fully embrace the potential that's always been quietly waiting within you? Throughout history, human beings have possessed an extraordinary capacity for reinvention, the power to redefine themselves again and again. Consider figures like Leonardo da Vinci, whose boundless curiosity led him to constantly redefine himself from artist to inventor, scientist to philosopher, or Malcolm X, whose journey took him from troubled youth to a voice of profound wisdom and change. These transformations weren't random or accidental. They were intentional acts of courage. Each step required shedding old identities, facing uncomfortable truths, and daring to envision new possibilities. Yet, when we think about our own lives, we often feel imprisoned by the past. We replay old patterns, fall into familiar routines, and let self-imposed limitations govern our choices. Neuroscience provides intriguing insights into why this happens. Our brains crave familiarity and consistency, wiring us to avoid uncertainty at almost any cost. But paradoxically, it's this same brain, flexible and incredibly adaptive, that's capable of profound change and growth when we consciously choose new paths, habits, and ways of thinking. The philosopher Heraclitus famously said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and has not the same man." We are continually evolving, changing subtly with every breath, every choice, every moment. But what if we decided not to let this process remain passive? What if we actively embraced reinvention, not as a reactive necessity born from crisis, but as a joyful, proactive choice born from clarity, intention, and hope? This journey of reinvention isn't just about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more authentically yourself, stripped of layers of doubt, societal expectations, and fear. It's about stepping courageously into the unknown, acknowledging that uncertainty, though uncomfortable, is the birthplace of possibility. And this is precisely the invitation I want to offer you today. The invitation to unlock the potential within yourself, to live your best life, a life full of passion, purpose, and profound meaning. In exploring this journey together, we'll delve deep into the fascinating intersection of philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, and history. We'll explore how the Stoics taught us to embrace change and detach from outcomes, how existentialists encouraged us to create our own meaning amid uncertainty, and how cutting-edge neuroscience reveals that our brains, far from being rigid machines, are wonderfully adaptable, ready to be reshaped by intentional choices and actions. We'll reflect on profound questions like, what holds us back from genuine reinvention? How can we consciously rewire our minds for lasting transformation? And how do we practically translate deep self-awareness into meaningful action every single day? This isn't simply about superficial changes or temporary resolutions. It's about deep, lasting transformation that resonates at the core of who we are. It's about learning to see every challenge as an opportunity, every setback as a stepping stone, and every moment of uncertainty as a chance to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This is a journey inward as much as outward, a journey filled not with quick fixes, but with meaningful, sustained growth. So as we begin, I invite you to consider this quietly powerful question. What if the greatest version of yourself isn't someone you need to discover, but someone you must courageously create? 1. The art of reinvention. When we talk about reinvention, we're not simply speaking about superficial changes like shifting careers, updating your wardrobe, or adopting a new hobby. True reinvention is an inward journey, a conscious decision to radically shift your relationship with who you've always believed yourself to be. Think about David Bowie, a master of reinvention who effortlessly moved through identities from Ziggy Stardust to Aladdin, sane, continually discarding one persona to reveal another. Each transformation was profound because it reflected a deeper exploration of his inner truth, an expression of creative freedom rather than conformity to external expectations. Bowie taught us something invaluable. Real reinvention is a bold act of honesty, a willingness to break from past identities, no matter how comfortable or successful they've been. But why is reinvention so difficult for most of us? Neuroscience provides a fascinating insight. Your brain naturally resists deep change. In fact, the neural pathways in your mind tend to solidify around routines, habits, and familiar thought patterns. These patterns create a mental comfort zone, making you instinctively retreat when faced with uncertainty or the unknown. To your brain, familiarity means safety, even when familiar habits no longer serve your best interests. So, to reinvent yourself, you're essentially going against deeply embedded neural structures. And that's why this process often feels uncomfortable or even painful at first. Yet paradoxically, this very resistance from the brain contains within it the seeds of profound transformation. Neuroscience also shows us that the brain is remarkably plastic, capable of extraordinary adaptation when consciously guided through intentional thought patterns, focused actions, and consistent practice. You can literally reshape neural pathways. This isn't motivational fluff, it's biology. You have within you the power to transform, to actively create a new identity rather than passively accepting an old one. Consider Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Amid unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps, Frankl recognized a profound truth. Though circumstances might strip away every external freedom, the internal freedom to choose your response can never truly be taken away. Frankl not only survived the camps, he emerged as a stronger, wiser, more compassionate human being, committed to helping others find meaning in their lives. His reinvention wasn't about changing external circumstances, but about harnessing internal power. This powerful example reminds us that reinvention doesn't depend solely on external changes. It begins with internal choices. Philosophically, the Stoics understood this long ago. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote extensively about the impermanence of life and identity. He knew that clinging to fixed ideas about oneself was a recipe for unhappiness. Instead, he advocated a constant willingness to adapt, to release rigid expectations, and to see oneself as part of a greater flow of nature, always in flux, never fixed. Stoicism teaches us to embrace reinvention, not with anxiety, but with quiet confidence, trusting in our capacity to adapt and grow with every new experience. And practically, how does this look in everyday life? It begins by asking yourself some honest, perhaps challenging questions. What parts of your identity have you outgrown? What stories about yourself no longer align with who you truly are? Reinvention isn't about rejecting your past. It's about consciously choosing which parts of it you'll carry forward. Maybe it's leaving behind limiting beliefs that say you're not enough, or embracing new habits that reflect your genuine values rather than societal expectations. Perhaps it's about shedding an old career that no longer fulfills you, or consciously shifting how you relate to others, moving from fear and caution to openness and authenticity. The art of reinvention is a lifelong practice, a daily decision to remain open, curious, and courageous. It's an ongoing dialogue between who you are and who you aspire to become. Each day offers an opportunity not merely to repeat yesterday's patterns, but to intentionally shape tomorrow's possibilities. And so, as you consider your own journey, I encourage you to reflect deeply. What would it look like if you truly embraced the art of reinvention, not occasionally, but as an essential part of your identity, your growth, and your purpose? 2. Rewiring your brain for limitless possibilities. Imagine your mind as a vast, intricate network of roads and pathways. Every thought, every action, every emotion travels down these neural highways, shaping your perception of reality and ultimately the life you live. Over time, certain pathways become well-worn, like familiar trails you've walked countless times, forming habits, routines, and predictable reactions. These pathways make life easier, more efficient, predictable. But what if some of those roads lead to places you no longer want to go, to limiting beliefs, self-doubt, anxiety, or fear? Can you truly rewire your brain, carving out new paths toward possibility, resilience, and fulfillment? Science gives us a resounding yes. Ally in the journey of reinvention. This isn't abstract theory, it's a tangible biological reality. Something researchers have observed clearly in brain scans. Your brain, far from being static, is constantly reshaping itself based on your experiences, actions, and even your thoughts. Each time you challenge a negative thought pattern, adopt a new habit, or consciously choose a different emotional response, you actively construct new neural pathways. With repetition, these pathways become stronger, gradually replacing old patterns that once felt permanent. Take, for instance, the inspiring story of Roger Bannister, who in 1954 became the first person to run a mile in under 4 minutes. For decades, experts declared it an impossible feat, believing the human body simply wasn't capable of such speed. Bannister, however, refused to accept this limitation. He visualized success relentlessly, mentally rehearsing the precise moment he'd crossed the finish line under that historic time. When he finally broke the barrier, something extraordinary happened. Not only did Bannister rewire his own brain to achieve the impossible, he rewired humanity's collective brain. Within months, other athletes shattered his record, proving once and for all that perceived limitations are often more mental than physical. This is the incredible power you hold, the capacity to rewrite your story through intentional thought and deliberate action. Cognitive psychology reveals that your beliefs shape your reality more deeply than most people realize. Researchers have shown repeatedly that changing the narrative you tell yourself can profoundly alter your brain chemistry, affecting mood, confidence, motivation, and performance. A well-known study from Harvard, for example, demonstrated that simply visualizing yourself succeeding at a difficult task activates nearly the same neural networks as actually performing the task. Your mind doesn't clearly differentiate imagination from reality. Both leave tangible marks in your neural circuitry. But how do you practically apply this knowledge to your own life? The first step is awareness, identifying habitual thoughts that reinforce limiting beliefs. Perhaps you've caught yourself thinking, "I'm just not good enough, I'm always anxious," or "success isn't meant for someone like me." Once you recognize these patterns, you can consciously intervene. Each time these thoughts surface, pause and challenge them. Ask yourself, is this belief genuinely true? Or is it simply a familiar path my brain defaults to out of habit? Then deliberately replace these thoughts with empowering alternatives. Rather than "I can't," try "I haven't yet, but I'm fully capable of learning." Instead of "I'm always anxious," choose "I feel anxious now, but I have tools to navigate this feeling." With repetition, your brain will literally begin to carve out new roads, reshaping your internal dialogue from limitation to possibility. This practice isn't easy. Rewiring your brain demands patience, consistency, and compassion toward yourself. Initially, new pathways feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Your brain naturally resists stepping off familiar roads into unknown territory. But each small step builds momentum. Neuroscientists have shown that repetition and consistency, especially over several weeks, lead to measurable structural changes in the brain. What felt unnatural at first becomes second nature, eventually forming new habits that align with the person you choose to become. Reflect on this deeply. Every day you have countless opportunities to actively shape your brain's architecture. Every choice, how you respond to setbacks, how you approach challenges, even how you speak to yourself, is a chance to strengthen empowering pathways or reinforce limiting ones. You aren't fixed by biology or bound permanently by the past. You have a remarkable innate ability to evolve, to reshape your brain toward limitless possibilities, growth, and authentic fulfillment. As you continue on this journey, ask yourself, what new pathways will you consciously choose to create today, tomorrow, and in the days ahead? 3. Harnessing the power of radical self-love. Radical self-love is more than simply liking yourself or occasional moments of self-care. It's a profound, courageous acceptance of your whole being, including those aspects you typically hide, suppress, or reject. But what does radical self-love truly look like in practice? It's easy to mistake it for indulgence or vanity, but the reality runs much deeper. Radical self-love is revolutionary. It means choosing to stand firmly by your side, especially in moments when you feel unworthy, flawed, or inadequate. It means recognizing that your value isn't conditional, it's inherent, beyond debate or comparison. And perhaps most importantly, it means understanding that the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. Throughout history, thinkers from diverse traditions have emphasized the transformative power of self-acceptance. The existential psychologist Carl Rogers described unconditional positive regard, a profound acceptance of oneself, as the foundation for meaningful change. Without acceptance, Rogers observed, true growth becomes nearly impossible because rejecting ourselves creates internal resistance that blocks transformation. Imagine trying to nurture a garden while continuously uprooting plants you don't deem perfect enough. Nothing flourishes in an environment of constant judgment. Similarly, human beings can't thrive without self-acceptance. Yet, paradoxically, many of us mistakenly believe harsh criticism will drive growth. unaware that judgment often reinforces our deepest insecurities, keeping us stuck in cycles of shame and self-doubt. Radical self-love offers another path, one grounded in neuroscience. Studies on the brain's response to self-criticism versus self-compassion reveal something striking. Harsh self-judgment activates stress responses in the brain, releasing cortisol and triggering anxiety. In contrast, self-compassion calms these same regions, promoting emotional resilience, improved well-being, and higher motivation. Neuroscientist Christine Neff's research consistently demonstrates that self-compassion doesn't diminish motivation, it strengthens it. People who practice self-compassion tend to achieve higher levels of success, precisely because they're better able to bounce back from setbacks without becoming paralyzed by shame or inadequacy. Consider Nelson Mandela, whose remarkable journey embodied radical self-love and compassion in profound ways. After spending 27 years imprisoned, Mandela emerged not with bitterness, but with a profound sense of self-acceptance and forgiveness toward those who oppressed him. He understood something deeply transformative: the way he related to himself internally, embracing both his strengths and flaws, directly influenced his capacity for empathy, compassion, and effective leadership externally. Mandela's legacy wasn't built upon perfection, but upon his courageous willingness to accept himself fully, using that acceptance as a foundation for radical change. How often do you speak to yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend or someone you deeply care about? Most of us harbor an inner critic, whispering doubts, harsh judgments, and reminders of past mistakes. We mistakenly believe this harsh voice keeps us accountable or disciplined. Yet psychology reveals that true discipline arises more powerfully from self-compassion than criticism. When you truly love and accept yourself, you cultivate a deep trust that mistakes don't define you, they refine you, allowing you to learn, adapt, and grow without fear. Begins by paying close attention to your internal dialogue. Each time you catch yourself spiraling into harsh judgment, pause and consciously redirect your thoughts. Replace criticism with gentle acknowledgement of your humanity, acknowledging that everyone struggles, everyone fails, everyone experiences moments of doubt or insecurity. Remind yourself regularly that perfection isn't the goal. Authenticity, growth, and resilience are. Radical self-love also means setting firm boundaries, respecting your needs, and prioritizing your emotional well-being without apology. It's recognizing that your worthiness isn't defined by external validation, whether that comes from career success, relationships, or social approval. It means actively rejecting societal standards that dictate who you should be, how you should look, or what you should achieve to be considered valuable. Instead, you consciously affirm that your worth is inherent, unshakable, and independent of circumstances. When you harness the power of radical self-love, everything changes. You stop living life as an apology and start living it as a celebration. Not because you're flawless, but precisely because you embrace yourself, flaws and all, fully and authentically. And as you step forward with courage, compassion, and genuine self-acceptance, your entire experience of life shifts, creating deeper connections, meaningful achievements, and profound inner peace. Reflect deeply today. How would your life transform if you committed to radical self-love? Not occasionally, but continuously, intentionally, and wholeheartedly. 4. Mastering the art of fearless action. Have you ever felt that deep, quiet pull towards something extraordinary? A dream, an ambition, a leap of faith, but hesitated at the threshold? Paralyzed by fear, this hesitation, this subtle yet powerful resistance, is something we've all felt. Whether at the edge of a crucial decision, a new career path, a meaningful relationship, or an entirely new chapter of our lives. But what if the key to profound personal transformation wasn't waiting for courage to magically appear, but rather acting boldly despite the presence of fear itself? Throughout history, those who have transformed their lives, and often the world around them, weren't fearless in the literal sense. Rather, they mastered the art of fearless action, learning to move forward courageously even while fear whispered doubts into their hearts. Consider Amelia Earhart, the legendary aviator, whose courage wasn't defined by the absence of fear, but by her determination to defy it. When asked about the risks she faced, Earhart famously remarked, "Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace." She understood profoundly that avoiding fear doesn't erase it. Rather, it only prolongs uncertainty and regret. True peace arises not from avoiding life's challenges, but from confronting them directly, moving forward even as fear urges retreat. From a psychological perspective, fear often acts as a protective mechanism rooted deep within our evolutionary past. It's your brain's ancient system alerting you to potential danger, urging caution to keep you safe. Neuroscience explains this clearly. When you face uncertainty, your brain's amygdala activates, sending signals of caution or fear designed to keep you alive. However, this same protective mechanism can become maladaptive when it perceives emotional risks, new experiences, or personal growth as threats, prompting unnecessary hesitation or avoidance. Your brain's attempt at self-preservation, though well-intentioned, might hold you back from meaningful progress and genuine fulfillment. Mastering fearless action doesn't mean ignoring fear or pretending it doesn't exist. Instead, it means acknowledging its presence while consciously choosing to act anyway. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this the leap of faith, a concept rooted deeply in existentialism. Kierkegaard believed life's greatest opportunities required embracing uncertainty, making bold choices without guarantees of success. To truly live authentically and meaningfully, Kierkegaard argued, we must step into the unknown, confronting uncertainty not as an enemy, but as a trusted companion, guiding us toward deeper self-understanding and fulfillment. Think about someone like Rosa Parks. On a cold December evening in 1955, Parks chose not to surrender her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She later said she wasn't physically tired, but tired of giving in. Her action, taken despite personal risk, uncertainty, and fear, ignited a movement for civil rights that changed history. Rosa Parks teaches us that the act of courageously stepping into uncertainty can create seismic shifts not only in our own lives, but in the lives of the mind. Resists what is difficult not because it is incapable, but because it seeks comfort. This is its default state, preserving energy, avoiding unnecessary strain, staying within the familiar. Yet, growth does not come from ease. It comes from stepping beyond what feels natural, from deliberately choosing discomfort, from training the mind to see resistance not as an enemy, but as a signal that something meaningful is on the other side. The lotus does not bloom in clear water. It rises through mud, through struggle, through the slow, unseen effort of pushing against its environment. It does not resist its conditions. It moves through them. The mind must be trained in the same way. The ability to do hard things is not about force or sheer willpower. It is about learning to navigate resistance intelligently, using it rather than fighting it. The struggle itself is not the problem. The problem is how one interprets it. Minds that achieve great things are not free from discomfort. They are familiar with it. They do not wait for motivation or ideal conditions. They do not expect ease. Instead, they develop a method, a way of approaching difficulty with clarity, with patience, with a mindset that transforms resistance into progress. The Lotus method is not about forcing the mind to comply, but about guiding it, training it to move forward without becoming trapped by frustration, fear, or doubt. Growth is not about overpowering the mind. It is about understanding how it works, and then using that understanding to move forward with precision. The mind resists change, but it also adapts. It hesitates, but it learns. It seeks comfort, but it can be trained to embrace challenge. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not intelligence, talent, or willpower. It is the ability to work with discomfort instead of against it, to move with resistance rather than be stopped by it. The mind can be shaped. The patterns that hold it back can be rewired. The Lotus method is not about force. It is about movement, awareness, and discipline. The goal is not just to get through difficult things, but to reach a place where difficulty is no longer something to be feared. It is something to be used. Embrace discomfort instead of resisting it. Discomfort is not a barrier, it is a signal. The mind instinctively resists what is unfamiliar, seeking the comfort of routine and ease. Yet, every meaningful achievement, every moment of real progress, begins with discomfort. The challenge is not to eliminate this feeling, but to train the mind to move through it rather than away from it. The more one fights against difficulty, the more it grows. The more one accepts it as part of the process, the less control it has. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He reminded himself that hardship is neither good nor bad. It is only what the mind makes of it. He saw that suffering often comes not from the challenge itself, but from resisting it. When a person avoids discomfort, they strengthen their fear of it. When they engage with it, they dissolve its power. He believed that growth is found not in waiting for struggle to pass, but in stepping into it with clarity, knowing that what feels overwhelming now will soon feel natural. Seneca took this idea further, advising that those who voluntarily face controlled difficulties build a mind that is unshaken when true hardship arrives. He believed that exposure to discomfort, whether through disciplined training or small intentional struggles, creates resilience. A person who practices patience with frustration, who embraces temporary discomfort instead of avoiding it, strengthens their ability to take action without hesitation. This is not suffering for suffering's sake. It is training the mind to see discomfort as a challenge to engage with, not a wall to retreat from. In daily life, this principle applies to everything. Someone who dreads starting a difficult task finds that the moment they begin, resistance weakens. A person avoiding exercise due to discomfort finds that the first few minutes are the hardest, and after that, it becomes easier. A speaker who fears public speaking realizes that once they start, the anxiety fades. The resistance is rarely in the task itself. It is in the anticipation of it. The only way through is forward. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to face hardship with calm acceptance. Seneca practiced discomfort so that no challenge would feel unbearable. Their lesson is clear. Action is the antidote to resistance. The more one embraces discomfort, the weaker its hold becomes. Growth is not about waiting for things to feel easy. It is about moving forward despite the difficulty until what once felt impossible becomes effortless. Flow, don't force. Effort alone is not enough. Without direction, it turns into struggle. Many believe that productivity and discipline require relentless force. Yet the greatest minds have understood that forcing an outcome often creates more resistance. Like the lotus rising through muddy water, growth happens when one moves with life's natural rhythm rather than against it. The mind, when pressured excessively, does not become sharper. It becomes fatigued, distracted, and rigid. True mastery lies in knowing when to push forward and when to let things unfold naturally. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, emphasized this idea in the Taoist principle of Wu Wei, effortless action. He observed that the strongest forces in nature, like water, do not achieve their power by fighting obstacles, but by moving around them. A river does not force its way through a mountain. It finds a path and carves through over time. Similarly, a person who tries to force productivity or clarity often finds themselves trapped in frustration. But those who align their actions with the moment, adjusting rather than resisting, move forward with greater ease. Aristotle, though known for his structured approach to reason, also acknowledged the importance of flow. He argued that excellence is not achieved through brute effort but through habit, through a steady alignment of one's actions with a greater purpose. He believed that forcing an outcome without first understanding the natural process behind it leads to unnecessary struggle. A musician who tightens their grip on an instrument too much does not play better, they create tension. A mind that is overworked does not become more effective, it becomes clouded. This principle is evident in everyday life. A student who forces themselves to study for hours without pause often retains little, while one who studies in focused intervals absorbs knowledge more effectively. A writer struggling to produce ideas may find that stepping away for a moment allows inspiration to return naturally. A decision made in frustration is rarely as sound as one made after allowing time for clarity. Effort should not be abandoned, but it must be applied with intelligence, adjusting when needed rather than trying to break through resistance by sheer force. Lao Tzu taught that balance between effort and ease is the key to sustained progress. Aristotle saw that mastery comes not from relentless pressure, but from understanding the rhythm of action. The lesson is clear: the mind, like the body, performs best when guided with precision rather than strain. To force is to fight against oneself. To flow is to move forward with both strength and awareness. Action with awareness. True progress is not about mindless action or endless overthinking. It is about striking a balance between intention and movement. The mind often swings between two extremes, acting impulsively without direction or analyzing so much that action never takes place. Both are traps. One leads to wasted effort, the other to paralysis. The key is to act with awareness, to move forward deliberately but without hesitation, ensuring that each step is taken with purpose rather than blind momentum. Plato explored this balance in his concept of reason governing desire. He argued that wisdom lies in allowing rational thought to guide action rather than being controlled by fleeting impulses. He saw that those who act without reflection are like ships without navigation, drifting without control. Yet, he also warned against those who hesitate endlessly, lost in thought but failing to engage with the world. To Plato, the ideal state was one where thought and action moved together, each reinforcing the other rather than working in opposition. Confucius shared a similar perspective, emphasizing the importance of deliberate action. He believed that wisdom was not in thinking alone, nor in acting without care, but in knowing when to pause and when to move. He taught that one should reflect before making a decision, but not to the point of inaction. A wise person does not wait for absolute certainty before acting. They take the best step available with clarity and confidence. Hesitation, when prolonged, becomes a greater obstacle than the challenge itself. This principle applies to every aspect of life. A person who spends weeks planning but never begins their project has achieved nothing. Another who starts recklessly without considering the best approach may find themselves trapped in mistakes that could have been avoided. The most effective path is one that integrates both, a moment of clarity before beginning, followed by committed, focused action. A student preparing for an exam does not need to obsess over the perfect study method. They need to pick a strategy and begin. An entrepreneur does not need to eliminate all risks before starting. They need to take calculated steps forward. Clarity comes through movement, not just through thought. Plato saw that wisdom lies in directing action rather than suppressing it. Confucius taught that reflection should serve movement, not replace it. Their lesson is clear: act, but act with awareness. Thought alone does not create progress. Action does, but action, when done without direction, leads nowhere. The balance between the two is where true mastery lies. Let go of control and trust the process. Control is an illusion, one that the mind clings to in an attempt to create certainty in an uncertain world. The more a person tries to dictate every outcome, to control every variable, the more they create resistance within themselves. Effort is essential, but obsession with results only leads to frustration. Growth happens when one learns to focus on what can be controlled. Effort, discipline, mindset, while releasing attachment to what cannot be forced. True mastery is not about bending reality to one's will, but about adapting skillfully to what unfolds. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher known for his teachings on change, understood this deeply. He observed that the world is in constant flux, that nothing remains the same for long. To resist this truth is to fight against the nature of existence itself. He compared life to a river, always moving, never still. One cannot step into the same river twice, for both the river and the person stepping into it have changed. Those who cling to control are like someone trying to hold on to the flowing water, grasping at something that cannot be contained. He taught that wisdom lies in moving with change rather than resisting it. Lao Tzu, one of the great thinkers of Taoism, took this idea further. He believed that trying to control life too rigidly leads to unnecessary suffering. He compared human effort to a butterfly struggling to escape its cocoon. If it is forced open before its time, the butterfly does not develop the strength needed to fly. Growth has its own rhythm, and forcing an outcome often disrupts the process rather than accelerating it. He advocated for a state of wu-wei, effortless action, not laziness, but the ability to move in harmony with life rather than in constant opposition to it. This lesson is evident in every challenge. A person preparing for a job interview can rehearse their responses, refine their skills, and present themselves well, but they cannot control the final decision. A student taking an exam can prepare thoroughly, but they cannot dictate every question that will appear. An artist creating a masterpiece can refine their technique, but they cannot force inspiration to arrive on command. The effort remains within one's hands. The outcome does not. Heraclitus saw that life is in constant motion, and that those who embrace change rather than fear it move forward with greater ease. Lao Tzu taught that trying to control what cannot be controlled only creates unnecessary struggle. Their lesson is simple. Focus on the process, not the result. Let go of the need to dictate every outcome and instead trust that consistent effort, applied wisely, will lead to growth. Control is not about forcing life to obey. It is about learning when to act and when to let go. Small steps, deep focus. Big goals often feel overwhelming, not because they are impossible, but because the mind perceives them as too vast, too distant, too uncertain. The weight of an unfinished project, a long journey, or a significant transformation can create resistance before the first step is even taken. The solution is not to wait for motivation or to force sudden drastic action. It is to break the challenge into smaller, immediate steps, each given full attention. Progress is not made in giant leaps, but in steady, deliberate movement, one step at a time, fully engaged. Lao Tzu, the ancient Taoist philosopher, understood this well. He wrote, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." He did not mean that action alone is enough, but that the first step, no matter how small, is what dissolves hesitation. He observed that when people fixate on the enormity of a task, they become paralyzed. But when they focus only on what is directly in front of them, progress becomes natural. The mind does not resist a small step. It resists the idea of the entire journey. The secret is to stop looking at the entire road and instead engage fully with the next move. Aristotle also explored this principle in his study of habits. He argued that excellence is not a single act, but a repeated practice built over time. A person does not become wise, disciplined, or skilled overnight. It's the accumulation of small, intentional actions that lead to mastery. He saw that deep focus on small, incremental progress is far more effective than chasing instant perfection. A writer struggling with an entire book should focus only on the next paragraph. A student overwhelmed by an exam should commit to understanding one concept at a time. A person seeking physical strength should master the next workout, not worry about the entire transformation. The key is immersion, giving each step full attention, trusting that small movements compound into significant change. This principle applies everywhere. A musician does not master an instrument by practicing an entire symphony at once. They refine one note, one passage, one technique until skill is built. An athlete does not reach peak performance overnight. They push through one session, one challenge, one level of resistance at a time. A person learning a new skill does not need to understand everything at once. They only need to focus on the next immediate action. The mind finds comfort in breaking things down, in simplifying what seems complex, in focusing deeply on what is in front of it, rather than being overwhelmed by the entire path. Lao Tzu saw that hesitation dissolves when the first step is taken. Aristotle taught that mastery is built in layers through repeated and deliberate practice. Their lesson is clear. Progress is not made by staring at the summit, but by stepping forward, fully engaged in the present moment. Small steps, when taken with deep focus, create unstoppable momentum. The task ahead may seem massive, but the next action is always small, and that next action is all that is ever needed. Self-compassion over self-criticism. The mind is shaped by how it is spoken to. Many believe that self-discipline requires harshness, that in order to push forward, one must be their own worst critic. Yet this approach often backfires. Excessive self-judgment does not create strength, it creates hesitation. When the mind associates effort with punishment, it begins to resist challenges rather than embrace them. True resilience does not come from relentless self-criticism, but from self-compassion. The ability to guide oneself through difficulty with patience rather than condemnation. Buddha spoke of this balance when he warned against the two extremes, indulgence and self-punishment. He observed that those who are too lenient with themselves fail to grow, while those who are too harsh break their own spirit. The middle path, he taught, is one of discipline with kindness, acknowledging mistakes without allowing them to define one's worth. A person who berates themselves for failure does not gain strength. They create fear of future attempts. But one who treats failure as a teacher, who sees struggle as part of the process, develops the ability to persist without losing motivation. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, reinforced this idea with a different approach. He believed that the mind should be trained with care, just as a body is strengthened through steady exercise. He did not see mistakes as personal failures, but as signals of where improvement was needed. He warned against internal dialogue that weakens resolve, advising instead that setbacks be met with curiosity rather than self-blame. If a person stumbles, the question should not be, "Why am I so weak?" but rather, "What can I adjust to move forward?" This principle is vital in daily life. A student struggling with a complex subject may be tempted to say, "I'm just not smart enough for this," yet that thought does nothing but reinforce failure. A more effective mindset is, "This is difficult, but every difficult thing I've learned before started this way." A person trying to build a new habit may feel discouraged after missing a day, thinking, "I always fail at this," but a better approach is, missing one day does not erase progress. I can continue now. The difference between those who persist and those who give up is often found in how they speak to themselves during difficulty. Buddha taught that wisdom lies in the middle path, avoiding both indulgence and self-punishment. Epictetus saw that setbacks should not be met with self-condemnation, but with adjustment. Their lesson is simple. Self-discipline is most effective when paired with self-compassion. Those who are too harsh on themselves create resistance to growth, while those who guide themselves with patience develop the endurance to keep moving forward. The mind does not respond well to cruelty. It responds to encouragement, to steady reinforcement, to the belief that progress is always possible, no matter how small. The power of strategic retreat. Stepping back is not the same as giving up. Many believe that persistence means pushing forward relentlessly, never pausing, never resting, yet the mind, like any force, operates best when it is given moments to recover, recalibrate, and regain clarity. A warrior does not fight every battle at once. They choose when to engage and when to retreat. A mind that never steps back becomes fatigued, overwhelmed, and ineffective. True strength lies not just in effort, but in knowing when to pause, reflect, and return with renewed focus. Sun Tzu, the ancient strategist, understood this well. He wrote, "He who knows when to fight and when not to fight will win." He did not advocate hesitation or avoidance, but precision, knowing that stepping back at the right moment is not weakness, but a tactical advantage. He saw that battles, whether in war or in life, are not won by those who exhaust themselves, but by those who move with intelligence, striking when the moment is right and withdrawing when needed. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus applied this idea to personal discipline, teaching that overexertion, whether physical, mental, or emotional, leads to diminished returns. He observed that those who push themselves without rest do not become stronger, they become burned out. He believed that wisdom lies in understanding one's limits, in knowing that sometimes the most effective way to move forward is to step back. A mind that is constantly under pressure does not think clearly, but a mind that is given space to recover can return sharper, more focused, and more prepared for the next challenge. This principle applies everywhere. A person who has been working on a difficult project for hours without progress may find that stepping away for a short break allows them to return with a solution that was invisible before. An athlete who overtrains without rest does not improve, they weaken. A person struggling with a personal conflict often gains clarity, not by arguing further, but by giving space for reflection. A mind that is constantly forced forward without moments of retreat becomes rigid, unable to adapt, unable to see clearly. Sun Tzu saw that timing is everything, that knowing when to act and when to pause determines victory. Musonius Rufus understood that discipline is not about endless effort, but about sustainable effort. Their lesson is clear. Stepping back is not a failure, it is a strategy. The mind, when given the space to breathe, does not lose its strength. It returns stronger. A well-timed retreat is not a loss. It is a preparation for the next, more decisive action. True progress is not about moving constantly, but about moving wisely. Balance effort with rest. Growth is not just about effort, it is about knowing when to rest. The mind, like the body, does not function well under constant strain. Just as the lotus needs both the resistance of the mud and the nourishment of the sun to grow, human progress requires both challenge and recovery. Many believe that working harder, pushing longer, and forcing productivity leads to greater success. But without rest, even the strongest mind weakens. True mastery is not found in endless effort, but in the ability to sustain effort over time by balancing intensity with restoration. Pythagoras, the ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician, understood the importance of rhythm in all things. He believed that just as music requires both sound and silence, life requires both effort and pause. He observed that the greatest minds did not work without breaks. They allowed moments of stillness to enhance their clarity. He taught that rest was not an interruption of progress, but a vital part of it. Without moments of pause, even the sharpest mind becomes dull, unable to process new insights or see challenges from a fresh perspective. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, also recognized this balance. He believed